I really feel like I'm representing women, and I am trying to defeat a stereotype that women can't fight, that there's no place for women in martial arts, which is absolutely not true. If you speak to any woman of my generation, they will tell you the same thing, that there have been probably many times where they felt excluded, or they haven't felt appreciated, or they haven't felt as worthy as their male opponent for having the exact same results. I am the first Latina fencer to represent the United States at the Pan American Games. And I'm currently training for the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. My name is Natalie Vie, and I fence on the US Women's Epee team. Last year, my team reached #1 in the world. We made a history doing that because we've never done that before. We won world championships, and also I won my first World Cup. Historically, Latinos haven't been allowed to train at the same facilities as everybody else, and women also. There was a lot of exclusion in the sport of fencing, and so it's actually a pretty big deal that with my generation and the generation before me, and even the generation before that, we've had a lot of firsts. Representation matters. I was 18 years old when I started fencing. Fencing was the first sport that I ever did where I was fighting just as hard physically as I was mentally. I think I'm a natural fighter, and I just had a need to fight. That's what I loved about fencing. It was graceful and it was poetic, but it was also a fight. That's the one part of fencing that I didn't really have to learn. Our training facilities are co-ed, but when we compete, we only compete against women. With a lot of women, I've had almost like a sister bond, which is weird because we're competing against each other, and there's this reciprocity where we fence. Because at the end of the day, even though it's an individual sport, you need your teammates, you need your training partners to get better. I think fighting is definitely a Latino fire thing. In Latin America, especially throughout like the 70s, when there was dictatorship after dictatorship that was practically torturing people, like to get out of that, you had to be a fighter. To survive colonization, you had to be a fighter. To survive slavery, you had to be a fighter. And surviving the racism that we've had to survive, you have to learn to shift and to move and to duck and to sometimes check a part of yourself at the door when you leave your house. And as Latinos, we've gone through all of that. If you are here, you're the product of being a survivor. You're the product of champions. Everything I do is part of my training. I start every day on the beach, and that's really important to me because I do feel like the beach and the ocean has a lot of life force. I get a lot of energy. It teaches me to flow. You can't fight the waves, you have to flow with the waves. And so to me, that's like a huge lesson because in fencing, it's the same thing. I don't really fight against the person, I'm really flowing with the person. And that mindset makes all the difference. Fencing has been a really deep spiritual journey. When you fence, you get to know about yourself, you get to know about your core. Who you are really comes out on the strip. Once you can see yourself, it's very meaningful because that's when you can really start the inner work. I've gone through so much growth as a human because of fencing.